All right, we're rolling. Hey, welcome to the Tuesday, March 16th FIO block producer meeting. Changed on the calendar a bit because of daylight savings. Apologize for that. The agenda item that was sent out was we're going to review some of the release plans. I'll go through the master plan, and then specifically, I'll go through the Bahamas release. And then we are going to open it up to a little deeper dive into staking, and Pavo and Ed, who should be on, will be digging into that. There are some other items that we were just talking about. We're heading towards the 1-year anniversary of FIO, which is amazing. And so I think this group's just been holding it together and doing an awesome job over the past 12 months. But that 1-year anniversary does mean there's some issues coming up with addresses and domains and renewals, and hopefully everyone's kind of at least on top of that and aware of that. We have an initiative going where we have to reach out to all of our partners as well for that. The fee setting, obviously with the large changes in FIO token pricing, fee setting becomes very important. I think most of this group is on top of that. It looked like a few adjustments were needed. Todd has some tools that are getting used for that. Todd, what is that background? That's awesome. And can go into those if we want as well. That is what I had. Anything else anyone wants to add to that agenda? If not, we can just dig in. Luke, why don't I go ahead and go through just kind of the agenda items, and then maybe near the end we can open it up to some of the general discussions. Or
yeah, that'd be great. So sorry to very few calls would I like, oh, I should take this, and that's one of those. So appreciate you.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Yeah, there is a lot going on actually besides the staking as well. Pavo, I don't know if you're going to dig into that at all, but we've got the dev team right now is neck deep in working on FIO, wrapped FIO. So the ability to actually wrap your FIO, have it show up as an ERC20. Eventually that'll be moving into some NFT, being able to wrap your domain and having that show up as well. We have what's called a FIO DApp. And again, I encourage everyone it's tough to dig into all these initiatives. I know Pavo is a very detailed spec writer, and those can be daunting, but we encourage anyone to dig in and respond to those and give feedback. So the FIO DApp will just be a web app that enables interacting, kind of hopefully as easy as possible interaction with different FIO functionality. That's in the works right now as well. And then the staking that Pavo will dig into. So I'm going to share and we'll get rolling here.
While you're pulling that up, I just want to remind everybody too, we have this really great process for FIPs and the FIO Improvement Proposals. But one of the challenges we have is like, soliciting feedback, right? Like it's one of those things where it's like, you're ultimately going to be asked to deploy code by the community if the FIPs are agreed to. And obviously we want to get that approval process done ideally prior to development happening. We don't want to spend time and effort building something or have the foundation financially sponsor building something until we know it's something that the block producers actually have reviewed. They feel good about the design, and they feel like if it was built to spec, they would be comfortable deploying it, for example. So I don't quite know the best process to get you guys excited about doing that. It is an important role, I think, of the block producers that secure the chain. We could maybe create like a bounty system. I don't know, but I'm just open to thoughts on that. And I want to throw it out there. I think Pavo's done a great job of trying to like rally the troops. But I see Verbis on the call here, for example. They're doing a marketplace FIP, and that's handled by their team. And they're going to be asking for feedback on that as well. And there are others. There's a FIP for doing a full messaging protocol. And like, there's a lot of cool ideas out there, but ultimately I think we want to, again, get those approved by the community before they get developed. So I'm open to any ideas on how we could do that, just as an FYI, as we're going through and thinking about these.
Did you want to dig into that now, Luke, or just kind of leave that open?
No, sorry, I just thought if it's on the agenda, we could talk about it more later. But as you're going through these FIPs, I want to just remind people the context of how we would love their feedback. They can comment directly in GitHub. They can go into Confluence. There's a number of different ways we can get that feedback.
Good. All right. Well, I'll dig in here. Again, this is the roadmap view, if everyone can see my desktop here. The last release we did, the 2.3.3 contract release, actually had a lot of functionality in it. Some of this It's a little confusing here in this view because some of this functionality was rolled out in the contracts, but I have it still not marked as mainnet release because even though the actions are accessible, there's still some endpoints associated with some of these FIPS that aren't complete. So I kind of bundled all of this chunk here, and you see we're getting very close to this deadline. We're actually over the deadline for what I'm calling the Bahamas release. That's our next release. I'll dig into that more in a different screen that's a little easier to view. It's actually late. We've been working on some build issues for a few weeks, and I was hoping to get this out mid-February, but we actually did take some time away from Bahamas to really focus on wrapping to get that bootstrapped up and running. So just some internal known delays and then some external delays with the build that we're working on now. So that should be coming out. I'm hoping to get that out to testnet this week. Then just some of these larger projects, token wrapping, the FIO DApp that I mentioned, staking. Again, these are really broad in design phase type things right now. And then just looking out a bit, I won't go into too much of these, but once there's some internal and Grafana type stats production stuff we've been wanting to get to. Todd's been working on that. There's some refactoring and simplification for integrators. And it here shows up as like SDK refactor or transaction handling, but we've backed away from that. And it's now a larger project to talk about the integration experience. So there is some work that we'll be rolling out after Bahamas gets released that looks at that as well. And then just some domain wrapping future, and then this EOS IO upgrade, still very important to us. Adam's did a lot of great work on that. It's a forking update and definitely has to come after Bahamas. So this Bahamas kind of puts the mark in the sand that we can now start working towards the EOS IO 2.0 code and pulling that in. Though a lot of that code's done, but we'll have to package up the release, and that's going to require a lot of testing as well. So good stuff in the works. So let's look at the master release plan here. I sent links out to the mainnet channel, at least on all of this. Starting from the bottom up, again, that 2.3.3 release we just had. So here's the Bahamas release. It's going to be the current release number is 3.0.0 because it does have an API.
We're still seeing your roadmap screen.
Really? It's catching up, maybe. Is everyone still seeing roadmap?
Yeah, I still see roadmap.
I think this happened on the last call you did. Maybe just unshare and share again.
Okay.
It can happen if you set it to share only one tab, and if you go to a different tab, it won't share it.
I think I'm on desktop here usually, but is that better?
Now we're just seeing Eric.
Let's shut down a few things here. Let me.
If you want, you can drop the links in the chat, and I can remote control if that's helpful while you're getting it set up.
Yeah, let me just maybe sometimes Zoom can interfere.
Yeah, because right now we're seeing a black screen that says Eric Butts has started screen sharing. So.
All right, let me try this. Let me shut down, and then probably resource issue. And let me try again here. If this doesn't work, Luke, I'll just send you the links.
Sounds good. We're good.
All right. Good. So this is the Bahamas release. Again, a lot of changes, a lot of FIPS included in this, which is great. A lot of endpoints that will be changing. Another link I have that I'll show you gets into more details because I think it's helpful just to read through, especially if you're using these, most of these aren't really related to, well, there's some producer ones and proxy voting ones that are probably worth noting on the changes there. This is also the second phase of, if you remember, we were doing a migration of, so the FIO request and OBT record was having some performance issues in some wallets when you would stack up a lot of requests. and Casey worked on optimization of those tables, and that required the table migration that we went through in the last meeting. The Bahamas actually now creates the end. When you upgrade to Bahamas, you'll now be hitting the new tables. So what happened, just to walk it back a little bit, the first release of the contracts created the tables and created the ability, and then you were updating both tables now every time you do a FIO request or record OBT data. So now we have two sets of tables. We haven't done that on Mainnet yet. It's called the migration. So we did the migration on testnet, tested it out. We rolled out the fix to Mainnet, but we haven't yet done the migration because it's better to wait until just before we're doing the Bahamas rollout, because you don't want to be maintaining two tables. There could be speed issues if you get too much buildup of data in both of those. So we will be doing, working on that table migration in the next few weeks as soon as we start validating the Bahamas testnet release. And then once Bahamas rolls out, anyone with Bahamas will be hitting the new set of tables. Anyone with the old 2.0 release of the chain will be hitting the old tables. So that's what happens there. We then at some point will roll out a contract update where we no longer start populating the old table and we get rid of the data in there. That's really it's not really a forking change, but it's an API breaking change at that point. And therefore, that's why we are calling Bahamas a 3.0 release, because it is a required release. Otherwise, at this point, when we roll out the new contracts, things will break, at least for like the get sent FIO requests, get received FIO requests, get canceled. All those FIO request type API calls will break at that point. So that's the important piece to this.
Question on that. Does this affect clients in any way? No changes required in SDKs or wallets?
Yeah, no, the calls will be the same for the SDKs. It's just what they return will break because the API node won't hit the right tables if you haven't upgraded.
Okay, thanks.
Are there any changes that require a replay on the API?
Todd, what have you found with the Bahamas release for replay?
Well,
TBD?
My
yeah.
my pinned builds do not require it because I've already built those with CLang 8. But unless you were already using a pinned build, you'll probably need to replay. I think you could actually use a snapshot. I don't think you have to resync, just replay.
Yeah, you can. There's a process that you should be able to jumpstart it, even if you change the build environment. Is this? I can't remember. You talked about the 2.0? Is this the Bahamas going to be the 2.0 shift? Because that definitely requires the snapshot replay or the snapshot uplift.
No, the ESI 2.0 is not in this stuff yet. That's the next release, next chain release.
Right. I remember you saying that. I was just making sure. So yeah, I mean, but yeah, there is a process that you can jumpstart almost any node, even if you change things like that. If anybody has any issues or questions, let me know. I do it all the time.
But if you're maintaining a full history, you have to replay anyway.
Well, I don't do V1 history because it's deprecated, but that's correct.
So is anybody using V1?
I think Sphere always tries to run V1 and V2 Hyperion.
Yeah. Okay, but the wallets using FIO are not using V1.
Oh, you're talking about the consumer.
No, I believe some of them might be hitting V1 history.
Yeah, I know GrayMass does. My nodes all do.
I think I think a lot of people still use V1. They may just be using V1's emulation on Hyperion because that caused us some problems early on because they didn't realize sometimes they were hitting like GrayMass, which is true V1, and sometimes they would hit Hyperion, which actually had a slight difference to something. I remember Luke chasing that rabbit one time.
Yeah, it'd be the global action IDs.
And that may have been
okay. Yeah, but anyone hosting a V1, has to do full replay. So
I'll have full archives. I have notes.
For what?
Just shut down and tar it up. So.
Yeah.
Why would a replay be required?
Guys, regarding FIO request API, right? So my primary concern with wallets, right? If it's a breaking change, it involves quite a bit of coordination across different wallets. Like I'll update our wallet, but wallets like Edge and
yeah, no, our understanding, like we mentioned, is that there isn't a wallet breaking change. It's just we have to get certification and verification from each and every wallet and exchange as to which node they are connecting to. Okay. And if they're running their own node, have they replayed or upgraded the node appropriately? So I think that is, it's a great point, but I think we've covered it in how we've planned this rollout. So it's just as long as they're connected to the newest node, they're completely fine. And the nice thing about this is we don't need to roll out those contract updates until we get that confirmation from every partner. So it's like, they don't have to roll out a new product to their customer. They just have to make sure whatever node they're talking to and any node they might talk to has already been upgraded, replayed, whatever needs to happen. So they've got the proper endpoints. And as soon as we see that as the case and we got that confirmation, then we're comfortable rolling out these contracts.
Perfect. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Any other questions on Bahamas?
I was just going to say, if you could take a note, Eric, of the detailed answer to all that as far as is a replay needed or not. It's a really good question that I'm sure exchanges and anyone running their own nodes that's not a BP will just want really simple answers like step 1, step 2, step 3, do this. The easier we can make that, whether it's snapshots or whatever, let's make that just whichever is the easiest process. That's probably the one we should recommend.
In my opinion, if you want kind of simplicity and standardization to try to always make it work, would be just to have them go through that snapshot restore process, create a snapshot, drop it, do it, upgrade, and then restore the snapshot. Because it's going to be this, well, it might trigger it if it's pinned, it might not, So in my opinion, it's a little more clunky and complicated than just give it a shot and maybe you get lucky. But if you always do that snapshot, dump the files and restore the state, in theory, I mean, correct me if anybody, thinks different, but that should guarantee them more of a clean, consistent experience, no matter what they're doing. Other than V1 history, their V1 history, they're in a different bubble.
They have to, yes. No, I agree, Michael. That question, Luke, you always ask that, and it seems like a bit of an art. So no, I like the idea of just documenting. We've given like a lot of options in the past, and then maybe that's not the way to go, Michael. Maybe you're right. Just like use the snapshot process. Here's what we recommend, right?
If you're not,
if you have more questions,
use the snapshot. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's probably the way to go. So good point. Okay. There is more information. I'm not going to dig into it. We have a lot to cover in this meeting. So if you want to get into the details of some of this release out there are the new endpoints. There are actually some changes to Clio as well that are at least worth noting here. Mainly adding new subcommands to Clio. We also added, updated the API or the wallet endpoint to rename to FIO Wallet. So that shouldn't impact, Todd, did that impact anything with you on your end or anything worth noting there?
I'm not using it on any of my nodes, so okay. I don't know.
Okay.
I did update the debs, for System D and App Armor, etc. But
okay. So Adam did the work on Clio. He's not on this call. This is included in Bahamas, but just reach out on the Telegram if there's any questions on that one. That's all I had. Let's any questions? Otherwise, we can roll into the staking overview. Or anything else, Luke, in between?
Just I did get a note from Thomas here, who can listen in but can't speak right now. But basically, just let us know there is an update to FIP 26, the marketplace FIP. There's a few more things that aren't quite accurate, so they're cleaning that up. They have some placeholders in there, but you can follow along in the FIO escrow marketplace, # FIO escrow marketplace. There's a conversation going on about that. They have started basically designing and developing some of the spec and all that. And two, I want to let the BPs know, like, we actually, talking to their team, they've been doing a lot of work on this. We did agree to set up a worker proposal for them. So there is actually like a milestone set up and a proposal. So their team is going to get some compensation for this, which I think is great. So the steering committee approved that. And so anyway, I just wanted to put that out there because I know lots of times VPs are like, hey, we can't get funding for stuff we want to do. And I think we're in a unique situation where we can fund that kind of stuff. So if you've got a project you're working on that you're super excited about and you think you can add value to FIO, but you need some resources from the community to make it happen, always consider reaching out to us. I know Marlon, for example, is working on a FIO Pay thing, which is like a subscription-based FIO system. And there's other cool ideas out there as well. So we always have that worker proposal form you can fill out on the Confluence page.
Yeah, we're very supportive, appreciative of the support that we're getting from the foundation. I'm gonna have to drop off too, but we're excited about our project, FIO Marketplace, which is gonna set the framework for escrow. And we're very happy with the progress we're making so far.
Super appreciate it. I know the community is really excited about it. Thank you, Verbis. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate your team.
All right, Pablo, do you want to take over with staking?
Sure. So what I'd like to do is I'm not going to cover the FIP 21 in super detail. This is, I think we have other items on the agenda here that we want to get to. So I'll just kind of highlight the key things about the staking protocol. And I, again, really encourage everyone here to take a look at this if you're interested in more details in terms of how it works, and all the details behind it. This FIP is now fully spec'd. We also have a corresponding technical document that Ed put together that outlines kind of even a step further in terms of exactly how it's going to be set up table-wise and things like that. So I encourage you to review that as well. But I do want to kind of highlight some of the key features here. So you may remember we kind of iterated on the staking a few times. There was also this FIO co-op model that we kind of started off. So this is like, I want to say iteration 4 or 5 of this, and it's actually thanks to the community that was providing some feedback. I think Aaron it provided one of the ideas here that we're using, which is based on the Rex token in EOSIO. It's not exactly implemented the same way, but it kind of is inspired, I should say, by the Rex token on EOSIO. So also, I'm not going to cover a lot of the kind of why we're doing this. I think at a high level, obviously, we're doing this because we believe that there is value in rewarding users for participating in the governance. So staking is directly tied to voting or proxying your tokens. So in order to stake, you have to first vote or proxy your tokens. That's a requirement. So at a high level, I think where this is really important for this group here is the fundamental construct in staking is that it takes the funds that are being paid in from fees and sets it aside to be distributed to the users who are staking their tokens. So that's probably one of the key modifications to the protocol that I want to highlight. And obviously this impacts, everybody on this call, is basically saying, hey, we're actually going to modify the current split of fees and take 25% of every fee that is being collected by the system and actually put it aside for these staking rewards. And then further, we're actually going to take some of the FIO address giveaway tokens and move them into this new construct, this new staking rewards reserves, which is kind of similar to the BP reserves, only they're obviously intended primarily for staking rewards. So at a high level, how it works is a fee comes in, 25% of this is put in aside for staking rewards. And then once a day, there is a calculation done and say, hey, did I actually collect, I believe the number is 25,000. Let me just double check here real quick. 25,000, I've collected 25,000 FIO in a particular day. And if we did not, then what happens is the system actually will mint the difference between what was collected in fees and 25,000 FIO tokens until the 25 million reserve is exhausted. So it's kind of very similar to how BP reserves work. So that's probably the biggest change is modification of the fee distribution. So this will reduce the block producer fees from 85% to 60%, and that 25% is going to go into staking, and the other 10 and 5 is going to TPIT and the foundation. In terms of how this is accomplished, we're basically introducing 2 new calls, stake and unstake, basically. The way that the math is constructed behind this is we're introducing this construct called SRT, which is a staking reward token. And it's not really an actual token. It's just really used more for representation of exactly what is your share of the staking rewards. So the way this works at a high level is when you stake your tokens, what you're effectively doing is you're locking those tokens in the account. So unlike EOS.IO, those tokens are not actually transferred anywhere. They actually stay in your account, but they're being designated as staked. And when they're designated as staked, you cannot actually spend them. What your account is getting is it's getting SRTs that are those new tokens, those staking rewards tokens that are basically computed based on the amount of tokens you're staking. So there is this notion of a rate of exchange in the system that basically dictates what is the rate of exchange between the actual FIO token and the SRT. So let's say you come in and you say, I want to stake 100 FIO tokens. We're going to say, okay, this account, now those 100 FIO tokens are staked, they cannot be spent. What is the current rate of exchange for FIO tokens to SRTs? And you get allocated a certain amount of SRTs and assigned to your account. Now, based on the math, the rate of exchange really only goes up when the fees come into the system. So the more fees come in, the rate of exchange is basically going up, meaning you will be getting fewer SRTs for the tokens you are staking. And the idea is that when you're then ready to unstake the tokens, you're basically taking whatever SRTs you have, and we look at what is the current rate of exchange when you're actually unstaking, and then converting it back to FIO and unlocking the account, the staked tokens in your account, and also sending you the extra FIO tokens that you've gained if the rate of exchange is going to go up. The rate of exchange is only going to go up. There is no formula that would ever make it go down. So you are at least guaranteed to get your principal back. But obviously, if you hold it long enough and there are fees coming into the system, then that basically ensures that that the reward is going up. There is still some modeling that we're doing on this to kind of get exactly better understand how this is going to work, to make sure that the numbers are accurate. We're probably also, when we actually turn this on, we're going to allow staking to occur before we actually start to redirect the fees into this pool. So there'll be kind of a process where people can start staking, but they won't be able to earn the rewards until, let's say, 30 days later. And that's just to kind of even the playing field and make sure that there is not a significant advantage to, first person staking and then immediately fees coming in and the rate of exchange immediately goes up, just to kind of smooth the curve. There is also this construct of rewards for TPIT on unstaking, which I think is important to mention here. So the way this works is there is, and this is actually to incentivize the wallets to, or endpoints to really build staking capability, right? Because when we roll this out on chain, you would basically just have to use the either use Clio or use an anchor wallet or a signing wallet to be able to use those actions. But obviously, we would want a broader integration into wallets where user can just open their wallet, hit a few buttons, and actually stake their tokens that way. So in order to achieve that, we've basically added this rewards for TPIT, which basically means that whoever is going to attach a TPIT to an unstaked transaction is going to receive 10% of the premium that the user has earned. So if I staked 100 tokens, and let's say now I'm staking, it's 150 tokens, there is a 50 token quote unquote premium that I have, rewards that I have earned. If there was a TPIT passed, I would actually get 10% of that to the 10% of that would be sent to the wallet that facilitated that transaction. And if a TPIT was not attached, this actually goes back to the pool or actually never leaves the pool so that the user in both cases actually still gets the same amount of rewards. It's just that if a wallet enabled that, they will receive an additional 10%. That's probably it at a high level. There is, I don't want to go too much into details just for the sake of time. Again, I encourage everybody to read this, provide feedback or any issues or concerns. And also there is this link here you can review. Actually, Ed, is your stuff linked here? If not, please link it here so that people can also review the technical documentation.
Yeah, it's linked. I actually put a note into the chat identifying where it's linked from and also giving the link. So,
all right. So that's basically it. Are there any questions, comments, concerns about this functionality based on the description I gave?
And clearly this is not a bike shed, right? This is more like a nuclear silo. So the classic bike shedding is ask my opinion about a bike shed and I'll give it to you. But if it's complex, I'll just be quiet because there's no risk in that. But this is, I think there's greater risk of not discussing it if there are concerns. As far as the percentage, the 25%, I think that's something that was based out of previous calls we had with the BPs. I think we even upped that number from our original plan based on the feedback we got, which was great. So as far as I understand, we're moving in a direction that has been along with consensus as we've discussed this all throughout the process to get here. If we're off, this is now's the time to speak. Like we were saying earlier, we want to get these things really locked down. We are starting to work on this stuff and hopefully move it forward quickly. So if the people working on a project would present it to the BPs in a way they wouldn't deploy it, then we messed up somewhere along the way, right? So I want to make sure that we can take this and get it out of draft and get it built.
No, I think it's the right directions that we are, taking. I'm glad that we are shifting, some rewards back to stakeholders, right? That's an incentive that was missing in EOS.io in general from the beginning. People need to have an incentive to take an action, to stake, to vote. So I completely agree with this approach.
And Pablo, I don't know if you directly mentioned this, but my understanding is that you do not get the rewards unless you are actually voting for block producers, correct?
Yes, I did mention that, and that is correct. More specifically, you have to have voted within 30 or proxied within 30 days of staking your tokens. So that's kind of an incentive. You can't just go and stake tokens without voting. If your account hasn't voted, you will not be allowed to stake.
I agree with Eugene. I mean, tokenomics is always a shot in the dark. I couldn't tell you if the right number is 20 or 30 or 25. Like, it's always just gut instinct, but this seems right to me.
I like that
Is
we're
there-
kind of juicing the pot a little bit as well, you know, with that reward. So we'll see how that goes as well.
Is there also already done some work on how to communicate this with the community?
That's a great question. We have not started to put together the full marketing plan for this. I don't know if you guys have had interactions with KDZ yet. She's the head of our marketing now, and she's been doing a really great job. And she's actually got 2 people she's bringing on board to help her. We would absolutely love for the block producers to help us with that lift. The more people we have out there talking about this, the better it will be. It's definitely not just a foundation thing for sure. This is your guys' protocol that you're managing and running. So however we can help you with that, and as soon as we get this status draft approved, I feel comfortable we could pull the trigger, because we can actually start talking about this right now. Even if it still takes time to develop, we definitely can be talking about this right now. A lot of people are asking us, when staking, when is this available? And that's a fantastic question.
Yeah. Today I had the conversation in Telegram on the FIO Spanish channel with a new investor, and he was saying that he's having issues getting information about what's going on. That everything is too technical, and that he was missing a lot of marketing. And yeah, I guess he had a point on this, and also realized that it's not much in other languages other than English. I've been introducing FIO across a few channels. Now we have quite a few people that I know from a Spanish channel that have been getting into FIO. So yeah, whom I have to contact to help at least, you know, moving some of these marketing text and pages to Spanish, because I can help with that. And it's something that has to be done. Whom I have to contact to do that?
Yeah, I would say, again, like earlier on the call, fill out a worker proposal so that you can say, hey, this is the project I want to do. This is what I want to accomplish. And then also talk to in the marketing channel in Discord. That's really where the active worker proposal team is active, and mention it there. We are almost done with moving the FIO protocol website to GitHub. And that will mean, and actually it's already there, and you could even do this now if you want. We just haven't switched over to it. But the static website is available, and Brad at Currency Hub has been doing a great job helping out with that.
Yeah, cool.
You guys can do a pull request to make any changes you want there.
It's much easier to translate if it's in there. Yeah, awesome.
Excellent, thank you.
Any other feedback? All right, well, feel free to reach out to me or comment on the pages. I will be working towards accepting this, moving this into accepted, which means that then development is green lighted to start actually coding this, even though Ed's already been doing a lot of kind of prep work for that. So plan of moving it to accepted, you know, with it probably the next week. So if you have an opportunity, again, please take a look at it and provide any feedback. And while I'm talking, I know that, you know, there's a couple of other things that I would like to highlight. One of them is layer 2. This is in the ideas phases, both of those things that I'm posting here in comments. This is an approach for basically introducing a layer 2 to FIO. For a variety of reasons. I don't want to spend too much time on this because I know other items on the agenda, but I just want to highlight it to this group, provide the link. If you can give it a read and kind of chime in with your comments, I would greatly appreciate it. And the other one is, how can FIO assist with NFTs? Here's another link for that. Again, this is another one of those early ideas of how, you know, what could be the application of the FIO protocol in making the NFT space easier to use, and few ideas in there as well. So again, please give it a read. And even if you don't have any specific comments, you read it and you're like, yeah, I think that makes sense. If you can add it in just, you know, a quick comment in next to the page, that would at least give us an indication that you've read it and you generally agree with that. That would be super helpful.
And on this one in particularly, we have been starting to reach out to different NFT artists, NFT platforms, NFT. I mean, as you know, it's so hot right now. So we would appreciate those connections as well. You know, if you've got people you're connected to in the NFT space, floating this idea to them and getting their feedback would really be helpful for us to know if this is something we should devote resources to building.
I will read it. We're very focused on NFTs. We have this Monsters of Rap and Mutant Warriors, and there's a whole bunch of series coming out on the R2 label. So I'll have a look at it.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Thanks so much. That's it for me. Back to, I guess, Eric, right?
Yeah, I mean, Luke, did you have anything else, or we could open it up the discussion?
I think I kind of covered just, you know, the plea, right, for the fit feedback. Again, Pavel's done a great job of that, and we're always kind of dropping those links. And I think one of the biggest challenges we've talked through is that, you know, when it's everybody's challenge, it's often nobody's challenge, right? And we understand you guys are running businesses, you've got other chains you provide support for, you got a lot going on. We haven't really, you know, pushed hard on this as far as like how to solve this problem, to say, hey, if we put this out there, we know that we're going to, in X amount of time, going to get appropriate feedback so that we can move forward with calling it accepted or dealing with the, you know, stuff that came up to improve the FIP. So open to any feedback you have on that. I'm open to a bounty program, maybe, where it's like, hey, you contribute feedback, you might win, you know, a bonus in tokens. I don't know, just something that we can make this worth your while and be treated seriously. Like what, so when a link gets posted about a FIP, you know, by not just the foundation, but anybody, you know, the community, anybody, that there's a process that we collectively take ownership on and say, that's important. We add that to our to-do list. You know, we're going to go and we're going to make a comment on it. And I know I mentioned earlier, Todd, if you wanted to drop your links to some of the stuff you've done to kind of help people make good decisions as far as who to vote for or who to set as a proxy, you know, maybe at some point we extend that to include engagement. You know, how engaged are they in the FIP process, right? You know, stuff like that. But again, open to any ideas you have on how we can improve that. Because I do know, like, especially for the team, if we're trying to stack our time as far as we're going to build this, then we're going to build this, and we're going to build this, and we've got it all scheduled. Eric's got a great process for that. You know, if we're stuck in that kind of waiting for community feedback stage, and it's unknown how long that stage is, it makes it very difficult to plan the sprints and everything else. So timely returns on that feedback will be really helpful for us to be efficient and spend our time and resources effectively. Other than that, I think that's it for me. So I think we have a little bit of time left over, which is fantastic. We covered a lot in a very short amount of time.
I have a quick question. So that most recent rollout of the update to the BP reserves in Mainnet, has that been working for everyone on the claims? The new daily max? Okay.
Yeah.
I heard back on testnet. I don't know if I ever circled back on Mainnet, so that's good. Okay. That was very smooth rollout.
Members.
Yeah, I was actually, that's a good point in that, and we did decide previously that with that rollout, we weren't going to like just stop there, right? Pavo had a really good point in that ideally we could in some way connect those potentially to the multiplier that we're already adjusting anyway. That is still something that I think is a good idea. I still think it's something we should put a little bit of resources and effort into. I know when the token price is high, everyone's super excited and they want to get as many tokens as they want. But we all want this to be a long-term sustainable thing. It's going to be here for many years. So, you know, and so that is something I would like to see continue because, you know, we've got time now to make that happen.
Yeah, nothing else from me.
All right. If there's nothing else, we could certainly end early. Again, I really appreciate the question about marketing. We certainly would appreciate more engagement and support from all the different BPs about, you know, your involvement with FIO, how much you appreciate FIO, these ideas about like how FIO can be used for NFTs to help artists secure their collections and things like that. You know, we'd love to have more ideas like that coming from you guys and talked about. Oh, also, here's a thought that came up today when I was talking to Katie in marketing. On our blog, we've got a community contribution section. And I just mentioned it today on our PR call that we would love to promote your content in that section of the website. You know, it doesn't have to be FIO related. It could be like, you know, here's another chain that you guys are a BP on, that you're involved in some big project or something. Here's some other thing you're doing. And we'd love not just for, that to be the people with active worker proposals within FIO, but also the block producers, and also eventually even our FIO integrated partners. So anyone doing cool stuff in the crypto space that's, connected to the FIO ecosystem, the FIO family, we would love to have your content promoted in our blog. And basically what that looks like is we can do a summary of it and then link off to it, so you get that SEO on your domain. We can also add you as a contributor to the actual, I forgot what it's called, but there's a way to take the blog that we have on Medium and make you a contributor, so you can actually post stuff there as well, or engage with stuff you've already written, and then we'll approve it and it'll show up there. So that was a thought that came up today, and I wanted to bring that up to you guys, because we want to promote the awesome stuff that's happening within the ecosystem of people that have integrated FIO. And that's one of those kind of things where social proof really matters, where people say, man, the people involved in this particular blockchain community are doing really amazing things. And I think that brings a lot of confidence for people who want to integrate the protocol. You see this all the time with like Dan Larimer, Vitalik, whatever, if they their own personal blogs help build their own personal brand, which builds the brand of the project they're connected to. So all that stuff is what I was thinking about. The more we have, interesting content that is useful to people coming out of the community that's engaged in FIO, I think the more it ultimately helps FIO, and it, promotes what you guys are doing too. Promotes your businesses, can get you more votes on these chains. I think it's a win-win-win for everybody.
Look, there was this discussion on the page. What was on the wiki? Yeah, it was about the FIO domain marketplace. Yeah, finally found it. I don't know if you remember, there was a commission fee structure discussion. Is this part of the work that is being done right now on the marketplace? Because there is this page with a few proposals and how the fees can be distributed, and there is also examples of NFT marketplaces. And I left some feedback there, but I'm not sure where this is going to. If this is part of the marketplace, if this is something.
Can you drop a link? Can you drop a link?
Yeah. Let me
in the
share.
comments. That'd be great.
Yeah. Good idea.
Yeah, if I'm understanding you correctly, yeah, I think there's a conversation about the domains themselves being available. Oh, okay, yeah. This is part of the marketplace. Yes. So Isaiah said he couldn't chat today on the call, unfortunately. But yes, if this is still in development, as far as the fit for this has not been approved yet. So we would definitely love for you guys to have a discussion about this as well.
Yeah, because some of the things that I mentioned is to get some funds for a workers' proposal. I mean, the foundation has funding right now, and I don't know how it will work when the funding is gone, but
well, the foundation does get 5% of all fees. So and we have a very large treasury that was, you all basically allocated to us as part of Mainnet launch. So I at the moment don't have concerns as far as worker proposal.
So all the workers' proposal will always be handled by the foundation.
That's an interesting question. I think that the worker proposal process is a way for the foundation to take the community treasury and allocate it properly. But if I'm hearing you correctly, if we had an open worker proposal system where anyone could submit and say, I'd like this built on FIO, and here's the bounty of money that I would personally pay up, whether it's a company, a corporation, a BP, an individual. Am I hearing you correctly? Meaning there could be.
I don't know. I just realized, because I made this proposal with the 2% of the fees go to a workers' proposal, but maybe it doesn't make any sense because the foundation is already handling the workers' proposal and has funding. So when I wrote this text, I didn't realize that. I asked not because I'm thinking of doing anything different, just because the question came to my mind. So I don't know. I guess it doesn't make any sense to set other fees while the block producers already agreed that the foundation is handling the worker proposal. So it doesn't make much sense.
I actually think it's a great line of thought that in the future I would love to see a situation where, for example, the foundation is is fully decentralized as a functioning DAC. And also I should mention, we have our first voting for the board members of the foundation coming up April 15th. So that you're going to start hearing more about that. We would love your help in promoting that. It's this first round is going to be, you know, not the be all end all of what we want to eventually do. It's really going to be done with very simple FIO requests. We've already had a form that is out there for people who want to be on the board. And those candidates, basically, you'll send a FIO request to say, you know, hey, here's what my vote is. And then we'll basically on April 15th tally those votes based on the token weight. And those votes again happen 3 times a year, every 4 months. And the first one is April 15th. And eventually my vision for you guys all know that I love DACs and DAOs. My vision is that, you know, at some point in the future, the kind of current legal construct of the Cayman Nonprofit Foundation, and we also have a BVI now as well, may not be as necessary. And it would function more based on-chain allocation of funds in a multi-sig, you know, and that multi-sig exists today with the foundation board members who all essentially allocate funds to the managing director, who has to operate according to the budget. And then the budget is managed by the steering committee, which is made up of Pavo, Eric, myself, Katie, David. Is that everybody, I think, that's currently on the steering committee? And we would love that committee to be, you know, open to more participants and have more of an on-chain structure for allocating and making those decisions as far as worker proposals and how they get paid. So I think there's a project there that makes sense. It may just be a little bit more in the future. And ultimately, again, everything we're doing is completely transparent. You can look at all the worker proposals. You can look at everyone's pay. It's all there in JIRA. So if there's ever a disagreement or dispute on how the community funds are being allocated, we can certainly discuss that and make adjustments.
Yeah. Okay. No, I'm thinking just maybe my proposal for the workers' proposal on using some of the fees, maybe it can be redirected to something like use those fees for funding NFTs projects. So taking some of the fees that come from the NFTs trading and using specifically for NFTs projects. I will work on this and add the feedback to the page. Cool.
Yeah, I think lots of times too, I want to make sure that as we're deploying these, we're thinking in terms of like ongoing maintenance of them. It's just going to be, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect in version 1. Like we'll get something working, and then if we want to add features to it, that's always an option.
Okay.
All right, cool. Great feedback. Again, we're always available. Appreciate all you guys. I love to see what we've accomplished so far. We've still got a long way to go, lots of cool stuff to do. But it's great to see, you know, the community supporting what we're doing, and I appreciate you guys all showing up.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Luke.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you,
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right.